When night descended over the ancient world and silence wrapped itself around villages, people felt that they were never truly alone. The Greeks believed that something or someone moved in the spaces between shadows. At crossroads where three paths met, in doorways where homes opened to the outside world, and in graveyards where spirits stirred beneath the soil, a presence lingered. She held torches to cut through the darkness, with hounds at her side, their cries echoing like warnings to mortals. She was Hecate, the goddess of night, crossroads, witchcraft, and the hidden boundaries that mortals feared to cross. Unlike the radiant Olympians who sat upon golden thrones, Hecate was different. She was a goddess of liminality, the in-between, the places of mystery. She was honored with devotion, yet also feared as a bringer of uncanny power. Some saw her as a benevolent protector, guiding those who prayed with sincerity. Others whispered that to displease her was to invite curses, hauntings, or the company of restless spirits. In her hands lay duality, light and darkness, blessing and danger. She was never just one thing, and that is what made her unforgettable. Who is Hecate in Greek mythology? To understand Hecate, one must imagine not a goddess of one realm, like Poseidon with the sea or Demeter with the harvest, but rather a goddess of thresholds. She was the guardian of doors, gates, and pathways. Where choices were made, she stood silently watching, perhaps guiding. Travelers at night would offer prayers at a crossroad shrine, fearful that without her favor, they might be led astray or attacked by wandering shades. Unlike most gods who demanded temples and large offerings, Hecate was honored in more personal ways. A family might place small tokens of food at the threshold of their home, a meal called Hecate's deipnon, to keep away malevolent spirits. At crossroads, offerings were left at night, never touched by human hands once placed. Dogs, her sacred animals, were given as sacrifices in her honor, their howls believed to signal her approach. She was a goddess who did not simply exist in the heavens, but lived in the fears and daily rituals of the people. She held dominion over the earth, sea and sky, not in the grand ruling sense of Zeus or Poseidon, but in a subtle and mysterious way. Her power was transition itself, the unseen thread that linked one realm to another. Sailors prayed to her for safe passage, mothers called on her during childbirth, and farmers sought her favor for fertile crops. Yet witches too invoked her, calling upon her authority over spirits, poisons, and spells. She was the torchbearer in the night, the keeper of keys to realms seen and unseen. Origins of Goddess Hecate. The origins of Hecate stretch into shadows deeper than those of Olympus. Ancient poets told us she was the daughter of Perses and Asteria, titans of destruction and starlight. From her father came an intensity of power. From her mother, the brilliance of night sky. Together, these influences shaped a goddess who could burn with fire yet glow with mystery. But scholars suspect her worship may be far older than Greece itself. Archaeological evidence suggests cults of Hecate appeared in Thrace, Anatolia, and Asia Minor, regions rich with goddesses of fertility, magic, and the underworld. To the Greeks, she may have been an adopted goddess, a foreign presence absorbed into their mythology, which could explain why she remained so independent of the Olympians' hierarchy. Her survival during the Titanomachy is itself a mark of her uniqueness. When Zeus rose against the Titans, most of their offspring were cast aside. Yet Hecate was honored. Hesiod's Theogony even records that Zeus did her no wrong, but instead granted her authority over earth, sea, and sky. Why? Perhaps Zeus recognized that her power was not one that could be conquered, for it flowed in spaces where no throne could reach. She was not a ruler, but a presence, subtle, unyielding, eternal. Thus she stood apart. Not Titan, not Olympian, but something in between. A goddess who crossed boundaries rather than ruled them. Hecate's symbols and appearance. Hecate's image, like her powers, shifted with time. In the earliest depictions, she was a solitary maiden, tall, graceful, torch in hand. The torch was more than a symbol of light. It was guidance, revelation, the ability to pierce the veil of darkness and reveal truths hidden from mortal eyes. Alongside the torch, she sometimes carried a key, signifying her role as keeper of doors. Doors to the underworld, to mysteries, to hidden knowledge. Later, art transformed her into something more striking, a triple-bodied goddess. Each figure, faced in a different direction, representing the past, the present, and the future, or perhaps three roads meeting at a crossroads. With three forms, she could see all paths, all possibilities, all fates. In one hand, she might hold daggers, in another whips, in another torches. The imagery was powerful. Hecate as guardian of thresholds and choices, embodying the many roads a life might take. Her animals reflected her liminality. Dogs, especially black hounds, were her companions, howling as her presence drew near. Serpents, owls, and even horses were linked to her as symbols of power, death, and transition. The foods sacred to her, garlic, eggs, fish, honey, and bread, were left in nighttime offerings. These tokens were never taken back. To do so was to insult the goddess and risk misfortune. Through these symbols, Hecate was never simply a figure of beauty or power like Aphrodite or Athena. She was the embodiment of mystery itself, always just beyond human grasp. Hecate's family tree and relationships. Hecate's family ties were faint in Greek myth. She was the child of Perses and Asteria, but unlike most deities, she was not defined by marriage, siblings, or children. She had no divine consort, no myths of romance or offspring. This independence made her unusual. Hera was bound to Zeus, Demeter tied to Persephone, Aphrodite entwined with countless lovers. But Hecate stood alone. This detachment elevated her beyond the concerns of Olympian drama. She was not caught in feuds of jealousy or stories of betrayal. Instead, she drifted at the edges of myth, appearing not as a central player, but as a guiding hand, a helper, a force invoked at crucial moments. In society, however, her presence was deeply personal. Her worship extended into homes and villages in ways few Olympians could claim. Crossroads shrines, doorway altars, and family offerings tied her directly to everyday life. Families honored her monthly during the dark moon, offering meals not just to her, but also to the wandering dead she guided. These rituals kept her close and made her influence unavoidable. Her relationships were not of family, but of presence. She was the companion of Demeter in her search for Persephone. She was the guide of Persephone herself, standing at her side in the underworld. She was the patron of witches and sorceresses who invoked her name in secret rites. Through these roles, she became connected not through blood, but through mystery. Powers and roles of Hecate. Hecate's powers were as vast as they were paradoxical. She could guide or mislead, heal or curse, bless or destroy. With her torches, she illuminated the path for Demeter in the darkness. With her keys, she unlocked the passageways between realms. With her voice, she commanded spirits, ghosts, and phantoms to obey her call. She was invoked for protection, especially at night when dangers prowled. A mother might call upon Hecate to shield her child. A sailor would pray for her favor before a dangerous voyage. Farmers asked her blessings for fertile harvests. In these ways, she was nurturing, protective, and even maternal, yet she also held the darker roles. She was the goddess of necromancy, of ghosts and spirits who wandered restless after death. Sorcerers called her name when crafting spells of binding, curses, or revenge. She ruled poisons and herbs, tools that could heal or kill, depending on how they were used. Her powers were not simply benevolent, but dual, unpredictable, reflecting the uncertainty of life itself. This duality made her indispensable. She was the one who stood in spaces no other deity claimed. When mortals felt themselves on the edge, between life and death, safety and danger, fortune and disaster, it was to Hecate they prayed. Hecate in the Titanomachy. During the great war of gods and titans, Hecate's fate was different from most of her kin. As Zeus rose against Cronus and the Titans, many were cast down, imprisoned in Tartarus, stripped of their honors. Yet Hecate stood apart. Zeus not only spared her but exalted her. According to Hesiod, she was given a share in all realms, sky, sea, and earth. This is remarkable, for Zeus rarely shared authority. He kept the heavens for himself, the seas for Poseidon, and the underworld for Hades. But Hecate was not bound to any single domain. She roamed freely, unchained, answering only to herself. Perhaps Zeus recognized her power was not one to be contained, for it dwelt in spaces unseen. Perhaps he knew that gods themselves needed her guidance in the dark. Thus, in the Titanomachy, Hecate emerged not as conqueror or conquered, but as something rarer, the eternal, untouchable goddess of thresholds, who survived not by force, but by mystery. Hecate and the Abduction of Persephone. Among the many myths entwined with Hecate, none shines brighter than her role in the story of Persephone. When Hades, lord of the underworld, seized the young goddess Persephone and dragged her to the shadowed realm beneath the earth, the world above trembled. Demeter, her mother, wandered the earth in grief, letting the fields turn barren, the rivers dry, and famine creep into every village. In this darkness, it was Hecate who walked unseen alongside Demeter, with torches blazing. Hecate illuminated the path of sorrow and despair, guiding the grief-stricken mother as she searched for her lost daughter. Her presence was silent but steadfast, a quiet strength in the face of overwhelming loss. While Hermes later negotiated Persephone's release, it was Hecate who remained constant, a witness to the transition between worlds. She did not intervene with brute force but with guidance, offering light where mortals and gods alike found only shadows. Her role in this myth illustrates her nature perfectly, a goddess of thresholds, of transitions. She stands not in the center of power, but at the borders, at the edges where life and death, joy and sorrow, freedom and captivity meet. In the Abduction of Persephone, Hecate becomes the quiet hand that steadies the trembling, the torch that pierces darkness, and the bridge between despair and hope. Hecate in the Gigantomachy. The Gigantomachy, the fabled battle between gods and giants, is often told in fragmented tales, yet Hecate's role is quietly fascinating. She did not charge blindly into battle like Ares, nor did she rely solely on strategy like Athena. Instead, she was an unseen force, a presence guiding heroes and gods alike, whispering warnings, offering visions, and holding dominion over the liminal spaces where giants lurked unseen. Her influence was subtle but critical. In myths, she aids those who honor her, tipping the scales without being the center of glory or conquest. This reinforces her archetype. Hecate is not the frontline warrior, but the unseen guide, the shadow in the corner of the battlefield that sees all paths and possibilities. Through this, mortals and gods alike learn that power is not always displayed in the clash of weapons. Sometimes it dwells in knowledge, intuition, and the unseen edges of the world. Hecate and the world of witches. Perhaps Hecate's most enduring legacy lies in her connection to witches. Long after the age of gods and titans, her worship continued in secret rituals, moonlit rites, and incantations whispered in hidden groves. Witches, seers, and sorcerers called her name to access the powers of night, transformation, and unseen knowledge. Hecate embodies the archetype of the wise, often feared woman at the crossroads, holding knowledge that others dare not touch. In magic, she represents mastery over boundaries, the thin veil between life and death, the conscious and unconscious, the natural and supernatural. Her triple form mirrors the triple goddess of later traditions, connecting the maiden, mother, and crone archetypes, each reflecting a stage of power, intuition, and transformation. In this world, Hecate is teacher, guide, and protector. She is invoked in rituals of divination, herbal lore, and protective magic. Yet she is not a passive presence. Hecate demands respect, careful attention, and acknowledgement of her dual nature. Those who approach her with arrogance or frivolity risk misfortune, but those who honor her with reverence find guidance, insight, and a connection to forces beyond the ordinary. Hecate and Medea. The tale of Medea, the sorceress who defied kings and mortals alike, is intertwined with Hecate's influence. Ancient stories hint that Medea drew her knowledge from the teachings of Hecate herself. From poisons to protective charms, from summoning spirits to unraveling fate, Hecate's shadow looms over Medea's power. Medea's story shows the balance of Hecate's gifts. Knowledge is power, but it is also a responsibility. To wield magic is to navigate dangers, both moral and mortal. Hecate does not punish indiscriminately, but she rewards wisdom and punishes folly. Her guidance is not a guarantee of success, it is a light in the darkness, a map at a crossroads, and a reminder that choices have consequences. Triple moon goddess and symbolism. In later traditions, Hecate became closely associated with the triple moon goddess, maiden, mother, and crone, representing the phases of the moon and the cycles of life. Her triple form is not merely visual but symbolic. Each aspect reflects a stage of power, intuition, and transformation. The maiden is the spark of new beginnings, curiosity, and learning. The mother represents nurturing, protection, and creativity. The crone embodies wisdom, endings, and transcendence. Through this, Hecate embodies the eternal cycles of life and death, light and darkness, knowledge and mystery. Her torches illuminate these phases, guiding mortals through the darkness of uncertainty toward understanding. Those who honor her are invited to embrace transformation, to accept that life is a series of thresholds, each requiring courage, discernment, and reverence. Misconceptions about Hecate. Over time, Hecate's reputation became clouded with fear and misunderstanding. Some equated her solely with witchcraft, ghosts, or even malefic magic. In truth, she's far more complex. She is a guardian of thresholds, a guide through darkness, and a mediator between worlds. Her fearsome associations reflect the fear humans feel toward the unknown, the unseen, and the transitional. To know Hecate is to understand that darkness is not merely a threat, it is also a place of potential, insight, and transformation. Her image as malevolent or frightening is often a reflection of human anxiety rather than her true nature. Like the night itself, Hecate is both beautiful and dangerous, comforting and terrifying, a mirror to the duality of existence. Legacy of Hecate in modern times. Hecate's influence continues to ripple through culture, religion, and spiritual practice. Modern witches honor her at Crossroads shrines, during dark moons, and in rituals seeking wisdom and protection. Artists, writers, and storytellers draw upon her image to explore themes of mystery, power, and transformation. Her torches still light the imagination, guiding minds to question the boundaries of reality and the unseen forces that shape life. Her legacy is not one of conquest, but of presence. She teaches that power is not always visible, that guidance can be subtle, and that true understanding often lies in the spaces between certainty and doubt. Hecate remains the goddess of transitions, illuminating paths for those willing to walk the edge of the known and the unknown. Hecate's influence in pop culture and literature. From Gothic novels to modern fantasy, Hecate's shadow stretches across storytelling. She appears as the archetypal witch, the mysterious guide, or the triple goddess whose knowledge challenges heroes and mortals alike. Her symbolism resonates with those seeking empowerment, wisdom, or a deeper understanding of life's mysteries, even in films and novels. Her presence carries the same tension as the myths, light and shadow, guidance and danger, knowledge and mystery. This continuity shows that Hecate's essence transcends time and culture, reaching beyond Greece into the collective imagination of humanity. Hecate and the philosophy of liminality. Perhaps her most profound gift is the lesson of liminality, the understanding that life exists in thresholds. Birth and death, beginnings and endings, decisions and consequences, all exist in the in-between. Hecate's domain is precisely this space, and by honoring her, humans learn to navigate uncertainty, face the unknown, and embrace transformation. Her torches light the crossroads of life, teaching that every choice is sacred, every moment is a threshold, and every shadow holds potential. Hecate does not promise comfort or certainty, but she offers clarity in the darkness, a steady hand at the edge of fear, and insight for those who dare to look beyond the ordinary. The eternal Torchbearer. Hecate remains a goddess of mystery, magic, and transition. She's a torchbearer in the darkness, guiding souls through thresholds, both literal and symbolic. She is protector, teacher, and companion, standing at the crossroads of existence where mortal and divine, light and shadow, life and death meet. In honoring her, we remember that power is not always visible, that wisdom often lies in silence, and that the spaces between certainty and doubt are where true understanding is born. Hecate's torches continue to burn, casting light on paths unseen, inviting us to walk with courage, reverence, and awe. Don't let the mysteries of Hecate remain in the shadows. Like, subscribe, and hit the bell to uncover more myths, magic, and secrets from the ancient world. Step into the unknown with us, and let the torches of knowledge guide your journey into the realms beyond.